Prayers for someone else may result also in prayers being answered for ourselves. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 2-Minute Torah, day number 5 of the Torah portion of Vayera. Let's go over into Bereshit, Genesis chapter 21, beginning with verse 1. Then Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzhak. Some vital information contained in those simple 3 verses. Number 1, it says here that Yahweh visited Sarah. Another translation says remembered. The word here is pakad, if you want to transliterate P-A-Q-A-D, pakad. And it means to attend to muster, to appoint, to look after, and to care for. I love the idea of the general nature of Yahweh attending to Sarah and caring for her. Let's think just a moment about the humanity, the reality of humanity in this situation. Here is Sarah. She's in excess of 90 years old, and she has perhaps been married the vast majority of her life. If she was like most young girls in that day and time, she very easily could have become Abraham's wife in her teens, perhaps even her early teens, mid-teens. So for some 70 plus years, she has been trying to conceive and failed. She had come to the place where menopause came to her, and all of her fertility was gone in her estimation. But Yah shows up and says, in a year's time, you're going to have a son. Now let's be human here, and let's think about this in reality. Abraham is in his old age, about 100 years of age. And I know he lives to be a bit longer here. But it's very likely that, let's just say that the marital relationship did not have all the romance that it may have had at one time. But with the promise, in order for the promise to come to pass, there had to be marital relations between Abraham and Sarah. That means that they were willing to try again. There are times that we have prayed, and we have prayed, and we have prayed. And we prayed every single way and every single word that we know how to use. And it would seem that our prayers have gone unanswered. What do? You try again. Because prayers need to be prayed in order for prayers to be answered. It's just as simple as that. Now, there was an event that took place in the previous chapter when Sarah was abducted. And again, Sarah must have been a very good-looking woman, even in her 90s, for this king to be willing to take her and put her into his palace as a potential bride or concubine or member of his harem, however he had imagined things to be. But Abraham was told by Yah to pray for Abimelech after Yah had cursed him, plagued him. The last verse, verse 18 of chapter 20, says that Yah had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. There were some that would have reasoned, Abimelech is the one that got Sarah pregnant. No, the word says here that she conceived and bore Abraham a son at the appointed time. He called his name, who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzhak. The Torah goes out of its way to help us to understand this is not an unseemly relationship thing going on here with Abimelech. This is Abraham and Sarah. So the promise has been brought to pass, but the path to the promise included Abraham in verse 17 of chapter 20 praying to Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech and his wife and his female servants so that they bore children. When he prayed for their wombs to be opened, Yahweh opened Sarah's womb too. If we're praying prayers that are not getting answered, the key to our prayers being answered may be that we need to intercede for others who have similar need or similar circumstances and put more effort there than for ourselves. I'll give you an example. If, say, your spouse is needing physical healing for some malady, and you know of someone else's spouse that is also needing healing. You've prayed and prayed and prayed. Your husband, your wife, they're not being healed. They're still suffering. They're still going on with the physical infirmity. Try praying for someone else's spouse to receive their healing. It could be that your compassion for someone else, and I don't mean just throwing words at the heavens, I mean praying with compassion and with heartfelt sincerity, then your spouse may also be healed in the process. I'll give you a real life situation. My dad, way back when, probably early 50s, in the Pentecostal church that he and my mom in those days were a part of. I don't even know that they were married yet. So this may be late 40s even. But a group of men, my dad told me, would get together and have prayer meeting at the church that they were attending. My dad was praying for someone else to receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit. My dad had not been filled yet. But while he was praying for someone else to receive this gift, he received himself in that process. And so it was I won't say a technique of prayer, but it was an instrument of prayer that I was taught early on. Praying for others can also mean getting your own prayers answered. And so it's also understood here that Sarah conceived and gave birth at the appointed time, at the moed. Prayers offered up should also be understood that there is an answer at the appointed time. Sometimes our prayers are not answered because we're not mature enough, positioned correctly enough, not ready enough to receive the answer. That if the answer came at the time that we would choose, we would be out of step, out of season, out of the right flow of things. And there's no way that we can understand that. We cry out with passion and with fervency, and we seek the Father's face. And sometimes the answer is at the appointed season, at an appointed time. It doesn't mean that we wait until that appointed time to keep praying. No, we stay in prayer. We seek and keep on seeking, knock, keep on knocking, ask and keep on asking. And we know that our Father hears us. But we also should be willing to be grown and matured into a place that when the prayer is answered, we're ready to receive it and ready to rightly walk with it. That's important. I so appreciate you watching 10-Minute Torah. Thank you so much for your kind words that you leave, for hitting the like button, for subscribing, and for those that go to remnantofisrael.com and hit the donate button to support All of that is so much appreciated. Shabbat Shalom to you, to your family, your friends, your congregation, whoever you meet with, or if you're just by yourself. Shabbat Shalom to you. May Yah's presence be with you this Shabbat. And we'll see you again next week. Until then, Shabbat Shalom.